Okay, the purpose of this video is just to offer a brief introduction on some of the cool effects you can get using makeup to masculinize yourself. Anyway, the first thing that you want to do when you're trying to masculinize yourself with makeup is put on base. Men tend to have less color in their faces. They also tend to have more neutral tones and like darker shadows and that kind of thing. So you want to give yourself an even base to start off with. And that's okay. So after that's done, save the sponge because that'll come in handy in a little while. Second thing you want to do, or what I always do, some kings don't do this, but eyeliner. I always put on a little bit of brown eyeliner on my lower eyes. I find that instead of like giving it a female effect, it actually masculinizes you a little bit, especially if you spread it really well, because it darkens up the shadows. And again, like the overall theme that you want to go for when you're trying to use makeup to achieve this effect is darker shadows everywhere, making your face look rougher, not as pretty. So hit underneath the eyes. Also hit the eyebrows. That's going to give a really dramatic effect. Men tend to have much thicker eyebrows, but don't get too carried away and give yourself caveman eyebrows because that's not attractive at all, and it's really, really fake looking. This one that I'm using here isn't exactly the best color for my skin tone, but they do sell at Walgreens. They're a little expensive, and by expensive I mean like $9 or something, but they sell special brow pencils that come in like blonde and all. Like you can see, that's a pretty dramatic effect right there. I find that it's best to just like go fill in your natural eyebrows and then smudge a little bit. Maybe put a very, very thin amount over and under to get them thicker. But again, that's so easy to overdo. Another thing to keep in mind as well, if you're drag kinging and you're putting on this just to be on stage, you want to kind of lean towards the more liberal end of application and do a little bit more than you would. But when going out in public, definitely stay on the conservative side, because it's really easy to spot this shit as fake if you overdo it, and it's easy to overdo. And you'd be surprised like how effective even just a subtle amount is when it comes to passing. So get it on there, thicken up a little bit. And then what I always do is take the complexion thing again and just do that over to blend it in. Okay, so next thing, eyeshadows. These can be used to darken the lines on your face. My favorite to use is a dark brown, this one right there. I typically use that one first. Put a little bit underneath the eye, but not too much because you don't want to look like a sociopath either that hasn't slept in 15 days. That eye, the other eye. And then, so you want to get underneath the eyes generally. The other place that I like to get is these creases right here and underneath the chin. And the trick to doing that, and it's going to make you look like an idiot, but grit your teeth like this. And see how it accentuates the lines, so just look angry. I can do it without gritting my teeth, but that definitely helps if you're not used to doing this. Let's get it there, a little bit on the nose. And try to stay with the curve as much as possible. I like to do the upper lip because it adds a little bit of a stubble effect. So, get it right there underneath the chin. That was way too dark. That's alright. Blend in a bit more. And then, right there. Typically when I'm drag kinging and I know I'm going to be putting on a lot of facial hair, I will darken up with eyeshadow first anywhere that I'm going to be putting on facial hair, because when you have a darker base to work with, it makes it show up better. Oh, another thing that I usually do, although this is an iffy thing, I do my jawline because it makes it pop out more. It makes it look much more mannish. It takes a little experimentation, blending in and all. I'm not going to try to perfect it because I don't want to run this video over. But, you know, okay, so jawline. When you're outlining your jawline, really simple, easy trick to use is to jet out the bottom chin so you can trace it easier. So just like put it out like that and go for it. Alright, and I always do this little maneuver right here to kind of blend it in a bit because you don't want it popping out. That's just a very subtle effect. The last thing I'm going to show on this video, I'm not going to get into crepe hair or anything like that because I'm sure there are a lot of other videos on that already because it's really well known and it's a really common drag king technique. But one thing that's not as well known that I actually like a lot better and I think makes a much cooler effect is this stuff right here. This is Greasepaint. Specifically, this is Greasepaint foundation. It's the same shit that you can buy at Party City in like the crayon types, but this is better, and you can typically get it from any specialty theatrical makeup stores. So you take off the Greasepaint, dab your Stipple brush, special spongy Stipple brush, which you can also get at specialty costume stores, and start out very lightly, very conservatively, putting it down the jawline. And again, like if you start at the jawline, any place you start, that's where your makeup effect is going to be thickest. So start at the jawline so you can still accentuate your jawline. And this stuff is super easy to overdo. I'm probably going to make a mistake with it in here, but if you have the time to work on it and you practice a bit with it and get to know what looks good with your skin tone, it can make a really, really cool effect. Like you can already see what it does right there. Typically what I do is take it down the jawline first, and then very lightly start blending it into the face to get the hairline. If you put on too much, and I mean there's a tipping point to where it's like, okay, that's way too much, that you can go with just like one pat from not enough. So be very careful with it, kind of conservative. But if you put on way too much, you will look way too sketch and just freaky. But you know, some people kind of like that. I like looking like that a little bit. Sometimes. So go out right here, trace out a natural hairline and make sure it's even on both sides in both thickness, color, texture, and all that, you know. And then do a little bit more down here. Over here. And do try to get it blended in as well as possible so it's as natural of a thickness transition going into the face. Because this stuff can make a really, really cool effect, but again, it's so easy to overdo. Whenever I'm drag kinging, I'll take it and extend it over the upper lip because from the stage it doesn't look fake, but never do that if you're going to be doing this in public because then it does look fake. And that's the easiest way to tell. So then you do this, and again, I wouldn't recommend going out into a place where that's well lit and where you know you're going to have really close contact with people. Because they'll be able to tell immediately that this is fake. Well, maybe not immediately, but someone's going to tell. But like for trips to Walgreens where you're not going to have close contact with people, a little bit of it makes a pretty neat effect. And in dark places, it's easy to use as well. So anyway, now that all that's done, the final thing you're going to want is this stuff. This is fixative. I don't know what it's made out of, but it's awesome. And it basically fixes everything that you just put in place so it doesn't start smudging, because this stuff smudges so easy if you don't spray this on. So you can also get this at the theatrical makeup shops, and don't leave without it if you get the Greasepaint. So, a couple of quick sprays. Voila, you're done. You can see, that's a pretty cool realistic effect. And I hope that this has been informative, and if there's anything specific that you need clarification on, please let me know. And happy drag kinging, happy passing, happy whatever.